Hey everyone, it's OSK. I was playing some Clash the other day because I just really like me some nonsense 9v9 fun, and I figured I would take note of some of the builds I was running. Obviously, there is a Clash meta, and I'll talk about that as one of my first builds, but there are also off-meta builds that I just really like to use for the fun and sheer absurdity of them, and I think you'll have a really fun time with all of them as well. Now, if you like this kind of video and other Spellbreak builds, guides, and gameplay, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe. You can also check out the Twitch channel where I go live with Spellbreak quite often and even sometimes cast it, so go check it out. And with that out of the way, let's get into this. So, I won't waste any time here. We're going to talk about the meta of Clash with my first build here. It's easily my favorite out of the 5, so I couldn't wait to talk about it. Pyromancer, Frost Offhand, Dash Rune with the new 2-2-2 setup, Runic Fluency, Scavenging, and Recovery. Pyromancer I find is the most reliable class in Clash due to the increased AoE of Combust and the versatility of Firefly, allowing you to possess a third movement option in case of emergencies. Landing those sweet mid-air fireballs never felt so good, and it really is a good option that isn't limited to one target. It's not grounded like Stone, and it's almost completely shuts out Toxicologists with most of your team running fire of some kind. The Frost Offhand is used to handle enemies at long range and is a nice surprise if they think they're safe and try to heal. Dash Rune is there to provide quick cooldowns and decent movement and can be comboed with your Flame Wall for a Fighter Jet Firefly for even greater traversal and repositioning. The talent setup is designed to make you a very mobile and decently sustainable menace. Runic Fluency is to make sure you always have a tool to escape a hairy situation. Scavenging is to make sure you're getting insane sustain off of each exile you get to theoretically turn fights while outnumbered. And Recovery to prevent you from dying immediately to multiple enemies. Really, this setup provides so many options. You can stay back and snipe from a distance, you can face check entire squads, you can maneuver very easily, and your fireballs just do so much damage on their own. And with the ignite ability on your combust skill, once you hit someone, they are probably getting melted really quickly at the touch of a dash rune and a bit of awareness. To expand on this build, I have found a lot of success running the damage variant with Focus Mana instead of Runic Fluency, making me able to deal 50 damage fireballs instead of 38 at the cost of an extra rune charge. I generally think that the extra rune is a lot more valuable than 12 extra damage on a fireball, but the option is there. Really, I think the 2-2-2 setup with Runic Fluency, Scavenging, and Recovery is the strongest among most of the setups in Clash mode as of right now, but there are some fun variants we'll get into starting with my second build on this list. Getting into the first of our absurd builds on this list, we're going to talk about some tank Stoneshaper. I take Lightning offhand with a dash rune, with my talents being Vigor, Dexterity, and Recovery. What this does is basically make you a nearly unkillable tank if you play it right. Vigor gives you 50 extra health at max, Recovery applies to all 150 of your health at that point, and Dexterity is there because Finders Keepers is almost useless in Clash. With Stoneshaper, you're able to constantly regen your first 20 shields, which could save you a bit of health, and for the health damage that you do take, Recovery should help sustain you very well. Now, because we don't take Scavenging in this build, you will likely die at least a few times with how close up you have to be towards your opponents. But that's partly why I chose to take Lightning offhand. If you can land a stun with a Lightning Strike sorcery, a quick follow-up with some stone damage is almost guaranteed in this chaotic environment. The key here is to always bait your opponent to land, and with the terrain being the way that it is in Clash circles, your Stone Gauntlet should have plenty of opportunities to slam someone for 40 plus damage per hit. Overall, I just really like the fun of being able to consistently damage the front line of opponents in front of me while being semi-unkillable in the process. There's also a decent chance for hitting multiple enemies at once with your Stone Gauntlet. It makes me feel like a demigod, and you can usually get more than a few exiles by running this build. For build number 3, we're going to get away from being survivable and just focus on damage. We're going to talk about Assassin Toxicologist. For this build, I take Frost offhand with Shadow Step, running the talents Focus Mana, Scavenging, and Recklessness. We're getting rid of all the defensive talents and going full offensive with our only sustain being Scavenging. The best offense is a good defense, right? Of course, you may have realized the goal of this class is to completely blow up the opponent with big outbreak and frost damage, whether they be long, mid, or close range. I will not lie, this is a bit difficult to run. The challenge lies in when to proc your Vanishing Mists and how to maneuver your Shadow Step to catch opponents out of position. There's usually a lot of fire in Clash, so placing Vanishing Mists correctly is key to not being blown up yourself. yourself, and with the momentum carry of Shadow Step now being reintroduced, albeit by a bug, and hopefully not taken out of the game again, you have a much greater ability to navigate your way throughout the enemy ranks to take out unsuspecting targets. And that's really the goal of this build. You want to focus on not being spotted by the enemy team as much as possible because you are not carrying any sustain in your spirit slot. The only sustain you possess is scavenging, which only benefits you if you exile someone, so keep that in mind. That being said, exiling someone up close should be fairly easy given all the increased damage you should have with your outbreak slaps, so as long as you can maneuver correctly, you should be able to completely obliterate your opponents, and Frost is just a nice fun touch. 111 damage, lol. Build number 4 is not a fun build for the opponent to deal with, I'll tell you that right now. It's very obnoxious for them, but very fun for you. Of course, I'm talking about Assault Conduit with Fire Offhand, Teleport Rune, and the talents Focus Mana, Fervor, and Recovery. The goal of this class is to blast your opponents with unavoidable sustained damage from empowered lightning bolts and to obliterate them with empowered fireballs if they get too close. Focus Mana is especially strong with this setup, as once Conduit hits level 3, they unlock Power Surge, and the ability to spam Focus Mana empowered and Potential Energy empowered lightning bolts for 4 seconds without mana loss, and this applying to fireballs as well, is pretty obnoxious. With Fervor increasing your cast speed as well, you can see how the damage adds up pretty quickly. Now, the only sustain the build offers is recovery in the spirit slot, so this is best played by keeping your distance and landing unanswerable lightning bolts and lightning strikes when possible. Repositioning should not be an issue with the overload skill and teleport, and the reason I picked teleport over flight in this scenario is due to the travel time that flight requires. While you're traveling through the air, you are open to both lightning and frost, and with this build in particular not having scavenging attached to it, you want to be taking as little damage as possible. The rune cooldown shouldn't be as big of an issue due to Conduit also possessing Overload, essentially giving you the benefit of runic fluency in your class skills, so you should feel pretty safe with this build while also being able to dish out a lot of damage for a long period of time. Alright, the final build I have for you in this video is more of a fun build that I like to run when I feel like I just want to zoom through Clash, and that is going to be Hyper Movement Tempest, with either Fire or Frost offhand depending on your preference, Dash Rune, and your talents Runic Fluency, Fervor, and Escapist. As you may have guessed, this build is all about the movement, and I'm not even remotely concerned with survivability or extra damage. Escapist, with the recent buffs it received in 1.2, gives speed equal to having blue or rare boots by default, and when damaged and stacked with legendary or gold boots, just makes you absolutely cruise through this game. That stacked with Wind Surge and Fervor to give you even more movement just makes you so hard to hit, and that really is the whole point of this build in general. You want to be moving around so quickly and so unpredictably that the enemy can't land a decent volley of hits on you, whether it be one enemy or 5. By being the sort of dodge tank, you should be able to completely dance around your opponents while also landing decent shots from empowered fireballs or ice lances with your Squall skill at level 3 Tempest. Overall, I consider this and the Toxicologist build to be the most fun, and I think with enough practice, you'll find it fun too. Alright, that's going to be the end of my 5 favorite Spellbreak builds for Clash. These really weren't meant to define the meta of Clash with the exception of my first build in the video, but more as a few builds to try out and have fun with while you're brawling against 9 other players. I hope you guys do enjoy the new mode and maybe try some of these builds out and let me know what you think in the comments below. Of course, like I said at the beginning of the video, do not forget to like, subscribe, do the YouTube thing, and follow all the socials down in the box, including the Twitch channel. That's going to do it for me. I have more advanced guides coming down the line, so y'all have a great day, and I'll see you all out there.